Hey, what is going on, guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my opinion on the best junglers for 5.19. So I haven't made a jungle video since 5.17, and in patch 5.18, Devour got nerfed and Warrior got buffed, so it's made a few junglers weaker and a few junglers stronger, so therefore my list is a little bit different since the last time I made a jungle video, which is good because it's nice to see the meta changing and it's nice to see new picks becoming stronger. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So first up, I have Elise. I still think that Elise is a very good pick for solo queue as long as you know how to play her correctly and as long as you can land her cocoon. She's got some of the best early game ganks in the game, and if you can land your cocoon when you're ganking, then you can just snowball the early game really hard. But if you can't land your cocoon on Elise and you don't take advantage of her early game, then she can fall behind because she is definitely a little bit harder to play. So she's got great clear speeds as well with her W in her spider form, and she also does that percentage health damage with her Q in spider form, which just makes her clears quite good. She's also a great tower diver. If you know how to play Elise and you know her kit, then you can look for nice tower dives in the early game as long as you can land a cocoon. Because Elise has her repel, she can take a few tower shots, and as long as she doesn't die, she can repel up and repel over to a minion or repel to a camp depending on where she's diving. She is also a great duelist. If she can get that cocoon off on the enemy jungler, say if she's invading, then she's pretty much gonna win that duel every single time. And she's an AP bruiser as well, which is really nice considering a lot of the junglers in the game right now are AD, and she also does do a lot of damage if she does go full AP. I wouldn't recommend doing this unless you're snowballing really hard, but a full AP Elise is really scary. And one con to Elise is that she is harder to play in my opinion because she's got so many different combos that she can use, and her cocoon is a skill shot stun, and if you can't land that, then she's not the best pick in the game because she does definitely heavily rely on landing that in the early game to get successful ganks off. So next up, I have Echo. I think that I've been underrating AP Echo Jungle the last few patches. He's actually pretty strong, and if you know how to play him correctly, for example, if you can get your W off when ganking as Echo, it's a 2-second AoE stun, and that just pretty much guarantees for you to at least blow the enemy's flash when you're ganking in the early game. And then once you do get a few items on Echo, he becomes really strong. The amount that your ultimate heals when you go AP Echo is just really crazy. So what you can do is you can jump in, assassinate a target, jump out with your ultimate, and then you're at full HP to jump back in. So he's just a really versatile champion. He also does have pretty strong CC with his W and with his Q, and he's a pretty safe assassin as well due to his ultimate. He is great with the Runeglaive item as well. The item just synergizes really well with him, and he does have wave clear for a jungler. Most junglers don't have wave clear, but Echo's got his Q, which is just really nice as well. It means that your mid lane, he can run like someone like a Fizz, or he can run a LeBlanc, someone who doesn't have as good wave clear, and you can still do really well. And one con to Echo is that he is harder to play as well. I think that it really does take a lot of time to get used to using Echo's W, and once you can get that down though and you know how to place it correctly and you know how to predict where the enemies are going to move, it's definitely a very strong ability. But if you're just looking to start playing Echo, I would recommend playing him in some normal games first before you head into rank, because his W is definitely harder to land. Next up, I have Rengar. So Rengar is one of these champions who definitely did benefit from the Devour nerfs and the Warrior buffs. He's great with the Warrior item, and he's such a strong jungler if you do get ahead with him. And just because the Warrior item did get buffed, I think he's a much stronger pick right now, because as long as he can survive the early game, as long as the enemy jungler doesn't end up getting a few kills, then his level 6 ganks are really good. And if you're a good Rengar player, you should be able to guarantee yourself a kill at level 6 wherever you're ganking, as long as you can get your 1.5 or 1.75 second root off on the opponent. Especially if you do gank bot lane, like at level 6, it's pretty much a guaranteed kill. As long as you do have like your flash up, if your team has all of their summers up, there should be no reason why you can't get a kill at level 6 as Rengar. He's also great in the squishy meta, which is why he's pretty high on my list for this patch. We're seeing a lot of squishy top laners being played. We're seeing a lot of squishy mid laners. So I think that Rengar is a great pick right now against that meta. He also does have very good burst damage, especially if he does get a snowball going, and he's great. He does have great level 6 ganks, like I said before. His passive is also really good for invading the enemy jungler. If you are going up against a weaker early game jungler like a Moo Moo or a RvzStealth, definitely look to invade them as Rengar, because you're gonna be able to catch them out really easily with your passive, and you can just make a nice little cheese play at level 1 or 2 in the early game to get the advantage. And he does have that 1.75 second root as well, which makes his ganks really good, especially once he does hit level 6. And one con to Rengar is that he is pretty weak if he does fall behind. Rengar's an all-in champion, and if you do fall behind with him and you don't have your items, then you won't be able to one-shot anybody on the enemy team, which makes him kind of useless because his whole purpose is to jump into the back line and one-shot the AD carry. Next up I have Xingqiu, so I think that Xin is definitely a good jungler still. He didn't really get hurt too bad by the Devour nerfs because he's got great ganks in the early game, and he doesn't really need to just hard farm like the other junglers do, like Master Yi and Shyvana. They don't really have good ganks in the early game, so I definitely think that the item nerf hurt them more because they're really damage based champions, so they don't have any strong CC, whereas Xingqiu, he's got great early game ganks and he's also got good CC as well, so I don't think he really got hurt very much by the nerfs to Devour. He's got a lot of lifesteal. He stays really healthy in the jungle because of his W. Every third attack he gets a little bit of health back, so that just makes his clears and it makes his jungle, it just allows him to stay really healthy. And he is also a very strong CC jungler too. His Q, his E, and his ultimate all provide pretty good crowd control, so I think that's one of the most underrated parts of Xingqiu's kit. Like, one good ultimate in a team fight could completely split the enemy team, and you could just win the team fight by one good Xingqiu ultimate, so I think that his CC is definitely a little bit underrated. He is pretty strong at all stages of the game as well. His early game ganks are actually some of the best in the game in my opinion, because he's got the gap closer on his E, which gives the slow as well. And then on the third hit of his Q, he gets the knockup, so as long as your teammates do follow up with the gank, you should be able to blow some summoners at least in the early game. He's a great duelist as well, especially once he does finish the Sated Devour and once he picks up the Blade of the Ruined King, and he does have that gap closer on his E, like I said, which just allows him to dive into the backline really nicely in team fights. And one con to Xingqiu is that he can get kited pretty hard if his E is on cooldown. To round out the top 5 for this patch, I have Skarner. I still think that Skarner is a great pick for solo queue, even though he did receive a few hot fixes and he isn't like as hotly contested as he was when he had over like a 65% win rate. He's still a great pick though. He's got great early game ganks. His level 6 ganks basically guarantee him a free kill as long as his bot lane or wherever lane he's ganking follows up. His shrines are really strong as well. If you fight a Skarner in his shrines in the mid to late game, if you're even with the Skarner, then you're pretty much gonna lose that fight 99% of the time. And he also does have a strong early game. Like I said, if you can land your E when you gank as Skarner, it provides a massive slow, and then you also get the stun if you land an auto attack after that. So as long as your laner does follow up when you gank in the early game as Skarner, then he can definitely pick up some kills in the early game. He basically does have a free kill at level 6 with his ultimate, like I said, and his E is pretty, like, it's not as strong as it was before it got nerfed, but it is still a really, really good ability since it does have a slow and a stun all in one ability. And his shield is also really nice for just staying healthy in the jungle and for also soaking a bit of damage in team fights. The speed boost that you do get with your W is really good too for going for ganks. It just allows him to get around the map quicker, and it allows him to engage really nicely. And he is also a great duelist in his shrines. One con to Skarner though is that he is countered by disengage, so if the enemy first picks Janna or they lock a Morgana, I wouldn't recommend playing Skarner because he does have a harder time against those disengaged champions. So first up on the honorable mentions, I have Wukong. Wukong is another jungler who benefited from the warrior changes and the Devour nerfs. He's a very strong level 6 jungler. As long as you can survive the early game as Wukong and you can get a good gank off at level 6, he can be very successful. Next up I have Pantheon. So I remember back when the warrior junglers were really strong, Pantheon was like number 1 or number 2 on my list, and that's because he's got a fairly strong early game and his level 6 ganks are pretty much godlike. They're some of the best in the game, and it just allows him to counter gank really nicely as well with his ultimate. So I think that just due to Pantheon's really strong early game, we're going to be seeing a little bit more of him after the changes to Devour and the buffs to the warrior item. Next I have Diana. Diana is also a really good Runeglaive jungler. Her and Echo are definitely the top tier junglers in the game who build that item. She does have a pretty weak pre-6 though, which is why she's not on my top 5. Since Echo can have a strong early game presence, I do think he's a little bit stronger than Diana, but you can argue either way. However, once you do hit level 6 as Diana, her ganks are pretty good, and she does scale really well into the late game as well. So if you're looking for another strong Runeglaive jungler, then Diana is definitely a viable pick. Next up I have Evelynn. So I still think that Evelynn is a great pick for solo queue just due to her passive and due to her very strong early game. She can definitely take advantage of the weaker early game junglers who are still being played like Master Yi and Shyvana. As long as she can get good ganks off in the early game and she can get her lanes rolling, then she can be a very successful pick for solo queue. Next up I have Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai is also a jungler who benefited from the warrior changes quite a bit. She's a great early game jungler, and as long as you can get ganks off in the early game and start snowballing your lanes, then you can do really well on her. And I also really like the new Titanic Hydra on her. It just allows her to get a little bit tanky due to the health that it gives, and it allows her to split push and duel really nicely as well. And the only tank jungler on my list for this patch is a Moo Moo. At least I think he's the only tank jungler. I forget who else I had previous to him, but he's definitely one of the strongest tank junglers in the game still. He has the highest win rate out of any jungler in the game as of the last time I checked, which was like a day ago, so he might have went down or up a little bit. However, he's just a great pick for solo queue because he's fairly easy to play and he's got a game-changing ultimate. It's an AoE stun or snare, whatever you want to call it. And as long as you can get that off on the on a few targets in a team fight, then the chance of you winning that team fight is very, very high. So I do like a Moo Moo just due to his strong AoE crowd control. To round out the honorable mentions for this patch, I have Vi. Vi is also another jungler who benefited from the changes to the warrior item. She's got a great early game as well, and her level 6 ganks are really pretty much godlike. Her ultimate just allows her to lock down a target really easily since it's a point and click ability, and as long as her lane does follow up wherever she's ganking at level 6, then you should pick up the kill just due to her very strong lockdown with her ultimate and her Q. She is kind of weak if she does fall behind though, since she's an all-in champion and you want to be diving into the back line with Vi's ultimate. So just make sure you're having a strong early game, or make sure you're taking advantage of her strong early game, or else you can fall behind and you can become pretty weak. So that is all for the video, guys. If you enjoyed, then be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, guys. Have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.